let's talk honestly today because the conversation everybody's avoiding is the one that explains everything. We keep pretending America is divided by race when the real divide has always been class and perceived social status. And that perception, that illusion, is one of the greatest tools that the 1% has ever used to control people, especially white working class Americans. See, for generations, white Americans were sold an unspoken deal. You may not be rich, you may not be powerful, you may be one paycheck away from disaster, but at least you're not at the bottom. That feeling, that sense of being above someone else, became a substitute for real security. And as long as people believed they had status, they didn't question power. That's how you get people defending systems that don't protect them. That's how you get people ignoring systemic oppression until it touches them directly. And that's why some white Americans are now shocked. Yes, shocked that ICE can kill U.S. citizens because the illusion finally cracked. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Federal power has never cared about your identity, only about compliance. The badge doesn't see race first, it sees authority versus resistance. And once you're labeled resistance, your perceived status evaporates instantly. Citizenship didn't save those people. Whiteness didn't save those people. And believing in the system didn't save those people. And that should tell you something. The 1% never intended status to be protection. It was a distraction. While people argued about race, culture, and identity, wealth was consolidated. Wages were suppressed. And communities were hollowed out and properties were stripped of real value. Okay? Which brings me to the myth of ownership. We've been told for decades that owning a home equals wealth. That if you own land, you're made it, but that's not how wealth works. Wealth isn't what you possess. It's what someone else is willing to buy from you. An old house is in a dying area that no one wants isn't wealth. It's a liability wrapped in pride, and millions of Americans were convinced to defend that illusion instead of demanding actual economic power. So when a system shows its teeth, when enforcement turns violent and people are confused, they say, this wasn't supposed to happen to us, but it was always happening, just not to people who thought they were insulated by status. Now let's go deeper, because this didn't start yesterday. Before America was a corporation, before it was balanced sheets and borders and enforcement agencies, people were already here. Us indigenous people, Europeans, history is far more complex than a simplified story we were taught, okay? But like I said, they wasn't really Europeans, they were whites from the Appalachian mountain region. Go check out my last video. But once land became commodified, once people became assets, the rules changed. Identity was weaponized, race became a sorting tool, and loyalty to class was replaced with loyalty to narrative. White and black people were taught to see each other as competitors instead of co-survivors inside the same economic machine. That was not accidental, because if working class people across race ever fully recognized the system exploiting them, the illusion collapses and the 1% could not survive that awakening. So what's happening now isn't random, it's exposure. ICE didn't suddenly gain power. Federal force didn't suddenly become dangerous. People are just finally realizing that protection they thought they had was symbolic, not structural. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Getting in the way of federal power, emotionally, physically, or ideologically, okay, is dangerous. Not because the system is just, but because the system is designed to defend itself. Okay, and they always gonna pick themselves. Legality is not morality, authority is not righteousness, and compliance has always been rewarded more than truth. The tragedy isn't that people are waking up, the tragedy is how late they're waking up and how many lives it takes for the illusion to break. Is this conversation makes you uncomfortable? Good. Discomfort is the first sign you're thinking beyond the script you were handed, because once you see the perceived status as a leash, not a shield, you stop defending narratives that were never meant to protect you. And that's when real awareness begins.